Hello folks. Well, many of you know I've been a big motorcycle enthusiast all my life. I've owned over 22 cycles, 8 of which were Gold Wings. My favorite was my 95 20th anniversary edition, which was sadly burned up in the fire. But what many of you don't know is that I own the very first model of the Gold Wing that was shown here. It is a 1975 GL 1000. J&J Cycle Seats custom built me a matching seat, and when my wife became pregnant, I decided to make a sidecar for it. Here you can see it. Well, no one was making sidecars for the first Gold Wings, so I took on the task that turned out to be quite a nice machine and also quite a chore. As you can see from the first one, when it was red and wood, I made changes to the body over the years by covering it with aluminum and making a roof. My daughter rode in it from a very young age of 6 months for many years, and it was a big hit in California. The reason I bring all this up is to show you some credibility that I do know about motorcycles and sidecars and able to make a credible video about them. So now that I've retired here in Sibley, Iowa, I found there was a company here in town called Motorvation. They also are a client of mine for Adams Polishes and got their roots in Southern California. They make sidecars and trailers for all kinds of bikes and ship them all over the world. So I thought you might like to see and hear a bit about them, how they work, and I'm actually going to ride and drive one for you. But first, let's talk about the company and its origins, and look at some of the pictures as we go. Well, Motorvation was started back in 1979 by Jim Sontag, and is now being run by Mary Sontag, his wife. Well, Motorvation Engineering actually sold and installed a sidecar for Governor Schwarzenegger, and you may have heard about this, who unfortunately T-boned the car a short while later and became embroiled in political controversy. It seems Schwarzenegger, although not the fault of the accident, did lack a motorcycle license. But thanks to Mary Sontag's information, he soon knew he didn't need one after she sent him a copy of the California Penal Code that clearly stated drivers with an attached sidecar are perfectly legal so long as they have a normal driver's license. Hasta la vista, baby. Well, going back to the beginning, Jim and Mary made their way to California from Minnesota, where they both grew up. They moved in the 60s with what's called the hippie days of California, and Jim made a living in a period of style as a lead guitarist and singer. Well, after his performance career ended, Jim went into talent management, and we get another Hollywood star name connection with Eddie Van Halen being one of Jim's clients very early in Van Halen's career. So one day Jim decided he'd had enough of the music business and announced to Mary, "I'm going to make sidecars." And Mary says, "Right." Well, deciding to get back into the Midwest, the Sontags moved Motorvation Engineering to Sibley, Iowa in 1994 and have been there ever since, taking up shop in a building that once housed a strip mall. Well, life was just grand for a good while. Jim's business prospered while Mary worked as activities director for a local nursing home. Jim would often visit the home to put on demonstrations and give the old folks the ride of their long lives. Jim and Mary were also kept busy with 3 teenagers going to high school. And then tragedy struck. Jim was killed in an accident, and Mary had to cope with major changes. She says she got into business by default, and she was fortunate, and she quickly adds to have become acquainted with many fantastic people in the industry who offered assistance when needed, and was greatly assisted by her chief cook and bottle washer, Gary Green. He's the installation tech and dedicated 30-year employee. Well, Mary, Gary, Eileen the upholsterer, Lucy the bookkeeper, and Casey the painter are all major spark plugs that continue to propel Motorvation Engineering as the industry leader and trailer manufacturer, proudly continuing Jim's traditions. Well, I asked Mary what kind of people buy sidecars, and she says actually a lot of her customers had a sidecar just to bring along their favorite dog. I used to ride my dog around too, and my daughter, of course. And of course, other reasons that Mary stated was that family members and other stability and physical limitations that often keep people out of the wind, but this way they can overcome that. For example, many of the customers normally confined to wheelchair become equipped with Motorvation sidecars that actually have special ramps and carriers to allow them to get into the sidecar and actually ride. It's very cool. Well, Motorvation actually doesn't build sidecars just to order. They can also custom build and match each one to the motorcycle it's attached to. And this is from matching fenders identical to the given motorcycle to duplication of the graphics found on Screaming Eagle Harleys, for example. Most of their installations are Harleys, but the company also mounts sidecars on many motorcycles, be it Honda, Yamaha, or BMW. They can make a sidecar look like it was originally part of the machine, and that's fantastic. Well, I didn't have a break on mine, but Mary explained, and Gary, that the Motorvation has actually developed a series of mounting attachments that allow a rider to not only keep the accessories like, his hard bags, the fairings, and crash bars on the bike. By mounting system also makes it possible to remove and install the sidecar right away by just making a switch from 2 or 3 wheels and back. Part of this ability is to quickly convert stems from the option of installing completely independent braking system. This neat option involves mounting the sidecar brake pedal adjacent to the cycle brake. This way both brakes, or only one or two, can be used at the rider's choice. It's a hydraulic system and they're completely independent, so there's no need to open any of the braking system up when installing or removing the sidecar. Really cool stuff, and I'll tell you, I've been looking at it and I like it a lot. Well, they actually make 3 different models. The smallest of the lineup is called a Spider. It's a single passenger model and it has a monocoque frame, which means the frame is inside and part of the sidecar itself. The Spider sidecar really captures the nostalgia. It's that retro look of the older, more traditional looking bikes like the 1950 WLA or Indian. But when trimmed out for a new Victory, it adapts to look just really well. The Roadster is the second model in Motorvation's lineup. It's double wide sidecar with a traditional look. The Roadster comes with a safety glass windshield and it's available with many added options like its own independent braking system and a convertible top. By the way, the braking system is also available in all Motorvation models. The next in the lineup is a new age version, which is the Formula 2. It's actually the largest model and broke new ground as the first sidecar to have independent brake and trim adjusters, so it wouldn't pull to the right even with a passenger. Formula 2 is built with a beefy square tube ladder frame platform, trailing swing arm, and adjustable torsion bar suspension. Really neat. This one is really cool. It's got a super ride and it can carry up to 3 small children or an adult over 6 feet tall who weighs 250 pounds. Even with all the room, there's still 5 cubic feet of storage room behind the seat, and all can be folded down and removed completely to provide a sleeping area. Wow. The Formula 2 can also be ordered with a flip nose option to make it the easiest sidecar to enter and exit. Mary says this actually makes it ideal for people with physical limitations. Another innovation is also available. It's called the Electric Lean. It's available only on the Formula 2 and Roadster cars and can be used to trim the ride on the run for road camber, extra weight or less weight, and headwind. If you're interested in getting a sidecar, all you have to do is check out motorvation.com or give Mary a call. Also, if you do buy a sidecar, before you leave, you're going to get the opportunity to get professional instruction from Gary, who among his many duties at Motorvation is also a certified sidecar instructor. So let's talk to Mary, Gary, and also Casey the painter. And then we're going to see how Gary sets the sidecars up on the bike and how he gets them lined up, and we're going to talk to the painter and see how he does his paint job, and then I'm going to take a ride, see how Gary does his instruction, and we're going to have some fun. So here we go. So what's your name?
Eileen Luchins. Eileen Luchins.
Eileen Luchins. And what do you do here?
I do all the upholstery work. That includes the seats, the carpets, the tonneau covers, the convertible tops,
the whole
thing.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, I've seen some of your work. I'm going to show some pictures of it. That's fantastic. Very good to see you and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Dave.
And we'll see you next time then.
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And you are?
Mary Sontag. I'm the owner. We manufacture sidecars and cargo trailers for motorcycles.
Are they mostly custom built?
Probably semi-custom. What changes or what's custom is the accessories that change depending upon what bike it's going on.
So if a customer calls you up and says, I want a sidecar for a 1957 Indian, where do you start?
With the body, a fiberglass body, and then a matching Indian fender. And then we see what kind of taillights, whether they have the old, probably the 57 has the round Indian taillight. So then we start accumulating the accessories that would go on the Indian of that year.
And so you match the paint and...
We match the paint, the wheels, the tires, the turn signals, the headlights.
Do you normally like to have the bike here to build it for the person? It's almost a requirement, I would think.
In some cases, maybe, but we've done quite a few bikes in our day, so most of the bikes, it's redundant. We've already mounted them, so we understand what's involved there and what mounting hardware is required. If it's something, if it's an odd year or an older bike, then eventually we would need the bike here. What we do need is a picture of the bike so we know what fender it has and what color it is. And then when it comes time, if we're doing a custom paint on it, then ultimately we need a paint part to reference. So they can send a side panel or a fender or
That's good. So your requirement then is, do you have a down payment, half down, or?
We ask for half down to build it and the balance when it's either ready to ship or ready to install.
What do you think sets your sidecar company apart from the others?
There's just a small amount of manufacturers in the United States, and the way that it kind of plays out is that they all in some ways sort of specialize for different bikes, and we've been in business since 1979, and we do 3 different style sidecars which will accommodate different situations. 2 of ours are larger, will carry 2 people if need be, or 4 dogs. Our Spider is the most popular. It's the more retro looking one, and it really doesn't matter what we put it on, it looks great. And then there's a few bogus ones that are on the internet that do some cheap import thing that's basically made for scooters, and they're too lightweight for the bigger bikes.
I see. You make trailers too, right?
Yeah, we make 2 trailers, 14 cubic foot and a 20 cubic foot.
Well, that's very interesting, Mary, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to go out and take a look at the rest of the operation here, and hopefully people will get to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's very good. Okay, what's your name?
Casey Miller.
Casey Miller. What do you do here at Motorvation?
Well, a little everything but painter. Do all the painting and pinstripe.
Well, you do amazing work. Show me some of the things you got going on here. These are in production right now?
Yep, this one's a 03 anniversary for a Heritage Springer.
Heritage Springer? God, that's just a beautiful black paint job on there. I mean, amazing.
And this is for the Polaris, Indian Chieftain. And it'll get
Polaris Indian Chief?
Yeah, it'll get a headdress and decal on the side.
This one looks a little closer to be finished. I like that light on there. That's really cool.
It's for a Dyna.
For a Dyna?
Yeah.
Boy, it's beautiful.
Pretty close to ready. This one.
Just gorgeous.
None of these have the trunk lids on them yet.
Okay, this is the trunk lid. Oh, I see. Okay, what do we got here?
No, it's a paint booth. We do all painting in here. We don't very often order paint. We do it off of a tent bank and then shoot cans over here on the, so I get a match I want.
Oh wow, that's a pretty interesting collection of cans you got there.
Yeah, there's up here and they're all over.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, that way, you can put a different amount of passes on each side of the can and then get your color match as close as you can. The new bikes, a lot of them are tri-coat. So with the can, you can do different passes around it and then just hold it up to a part a customer sends in.
That's great. That's really cool.
Get your match and go with it. Some of the old bikes have different sun fade,
Oh yeah, sure. Great.
Now we come to Gary Green.
He's the chief fabricator, installer, and hooks up the sidecars to the bikes, make sure they run straight. He's going to show me now how to do that. Gary's from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. This is where my dad taught school, including Joe Namath. Dad taught algebra and general math. He told me he had to kick Joe out of class a few times. Small world to find Gary went to the same school. All right, Gary is going to show us how to align the sidecar to the bike, right?
Correct.
Okay, let's see what you got to do here,
Okay.
Gary.
What I like to do is put a straight edge on the motorcycle rear tire. It's a 6-foot long straight edge.
I see it.
And we have a straight edge, a 6-foot long straight edge on the sidecar wheel.
Okay,
And I like to bungee cord them on so I don't have them moving around.
good idea. Doesn't scratch anything.
What I do on the rear is I lay a carpenter square down so I can measure square across right at the edge of the back tire.
I got you.
When I measure across my straight edge on the sidecar wheel, 49 1/4.
Right. What's the average toe in?
The industry standard is 3/4. Now I like to do a 1/2 inch toe in. We'll see what this is here. This is 47 3/4. So there we have a 1/2 inch toe in.
Okay, and the reason for the toe in is
Well, it makes it track straight down the road.
when you're at high speeds. I remember that when I built my own sidecar, I had to tow it in, otherwise the wind resistance was blowing me to the right. Now this stuff here in the middle, these are basically turnbuckles to adjust the angle of lean, right?
Correct. The upper ones are left and right hand threads. And you can turn the center tube and adjust the lean of the bike as you need it. The lower tubes slide in and out of the body so you can adjust the width of the sidecar and front to back also.
Well, that's a good idea. Wow, that's very interesting. Quite the setup. Quite the setup. I think we should take this bad boy for a ride.
Ride's nice. When you add a sidecar onto a motorcycle, what happens is when you take off, it wants to pull you to the right, and when you stop, it wants you to push you to the left. Now, when you take off, it wants to pull to the right. Same thing as when you stop, it wants to push you to the left. And I'll show you how the sidecar can lift up in the air.
I know, that's cool. I used to do that with mine. I love it. Nice. Very nice.
Dave's gonna give it a try here on this Harley 1200 Sportster. fun bike too, huh?
Well, thanks a lot for watching, folks, and thanks very kindly to Mary and the crew of Motorvation for this great behind-the-scenes look, and of course of getting to drive a sidecar again after 40 years. They drive smooth, straight, and are actually amazing mechanical technology of which they should be proud to make for any bike enthusiast. So ride easy, folks.